Hi. So good to be here. I was talking to Carl earlier, and he was saying that he gets nervous reading, and I normally don't, but having both my students here and a former teacher here, it does kind of make me a little nervous, but it's in a good way. I'm going to read about 5 poems. Isabel, thanks so much for that introduction. I'm going to read a couple of those poems from that collection that you quoted from, and also from the Cineasts, which was the last poem you quoted from. So the Cineasts are ekphrastic poems taken from films, and as you could tell from the Dracula quote, sometimes I cast myself as the protagonist or antagonist in some of the films. And when I originally started writing these poems, the working title was Auteur, and I was thinking about all these great films, and some of the films are that way, and some of the films are just films I kind of liked. One of my favorite films from my childhood, and still one of my favorite films, I think it's a perfect film, is The Red Balloon from 1956, a short film. Just this kid on his way to school finds this balloon, and the balloon seems to have these magical properties. It behaves like a pet or a friend, and kind of follows him around. And then the other kids at school become jealous of him. They try to take the balloon from him. And then there's this magical thing that happens at the very end, which I won't give away if you haven't seen it. The Red Balloon by Albert Lemery's 1956. Tribes of boys are jealous of the one tethered to the red balloon. Adults don't seem to understand him either. See, the boy runs with his balloon trailing behind him. Even when he opens his grip, the balloon obeys and, as if it had legs, runs alongside him. Can you see? Even in the silences between them, even when the boy is not there, even when the boy cannot come to play the balloon, the boy's secret, this one boy's one friend, remains loyal, rising and falling, right along with the boy. The balloon keeps returning around every corner, down every alleyway. As more of its fidelity reveals, the other boys try to destroy Ceylon, but the balloon simply gathers more balloons, and something common to this boy appears fantastic to others. He gathers the strings attached to the balloon bouquet. He takes flight over the city until he's even more of a mystery in the squinting eyes of the boys. The boys looking into the sun, which gleams like a future too bright to look into. The boys wield slingshots to bring him back down to the soil which does not stir beneath their shoes like the clouds do beneath his, as he continues to float beyond their skin-kneed jealousies, as the rectrices of his feet steer clear of their stones, and then their mouths hang agape. And then there is no hope, his floating away, his act of no act at all for him is already too many octaves above their voices. So this is a Spike Lee film, Do the Right Thing, from 1989. How many people have seen Do the Right Thing? Oh, this is a good crowd. I'm always surprised at how many people have not seen Do the Right Thing. It's a hot day in Brooklyn in the summer. One of the main characters, played by Spike Lee, Mookie, works at Sal's Pizzeria. Sal's Pizzeria is a pizzeria in this neighborhood in Bed-Stuy, very diverse neighborhood. There's a character named Buggin' Out, played by Giancarlo Esposito, and Buggin' Out gets into an altercation with Sal about not having any African Americans photos, of different famous celebrities on the wall. It's all Italian Americans, and calls for boycott. Another character, played by the late great Sam Nunn, Radio Raheem, comes in with his boombox. He's blasting this boombox, walking around Brooklyn throughout the film, with Public Enemy's "Fight the Power" playing. At this point, Sal's had enough. They get into it. Sal takes a baseball bat and smashes the boombox, and then from there, all hell breaks loose. There's a riot that breaks out. Police come, and the police do put a chokehold on Raider Rahim, and he dies much in the same way as Eric Garner did. And the 25th anniversary of the film came out as the verdict for Eric Garner was released. So this is Do the Right Thing. The days were a skillet on a red-hot eye of a stove. The men on the corner, the couple in their apartment, the kids playing under the fire hydrant's relief were all sitting, loving, or playing in a skillet. Heat rose off the accents of summer language. Some called it music, others called it fire. The days were a skillet, but the nights were a match lighting the gas. No moon appeared, only steam rising off the sidewalks from the day. Feet danced on the skillet, and smoke alarms sounded. Moths, fierce as kids at play on a summer day, burst from musty closets. People were evicted, put out like butter sliding across the skillet's face. Most of us were outside by then, swatting bees, swatting flies. We outlived the lifespan of giraffes and cheetahs made for this weather. Or we sat on our stoops, indolent but defiant, simply escaping the drama of our own lives. Even those indoors without air conditioning, we like to believe at least, escaped the heat somehow. Mookie, to cool her fire, melted ice cubes on Tina's nipples. Radio Rahim stole ink off Robert Mitchum's knuckles. He took the heat too, casting love and hate into digital bling. When did Soul Brother become an anachronism too hot for air-conditioned conversation? And Sal's Pizzeria bugging out bugs. Sal, wait, no brothers up on your wall. Smiley auguring smoke before nightfall carried matches. The day is a skillet on a red-hot eye of a stove. Later, a cop has Radio Rahim in a chokehold. Later, we will light candles for Radio Rahim. If a man takes a baseball bat to another man's property, that's a skillet too. If a man throws a barrel through a plate glass window, others will follow. A Pyrrhic victory is a pyre, a life possession, set of lays to save lives. Catharsis is the moth's flight toward the flame, fluttering in the spotlight, or first fluttering, then finding the power to flutter, but consumed by the heat until all we know is shimmer is how one smolders to survive. This next one. So this is a film not too many people have seen. It's a Korean film by director Park Chan-wook. It's called Old Boy. It's part of the Revenge trilogy. This guy goes out one night drinking with his friends. He's kidnapped. He's taken hostage in this apartment building and kept there for 15 years. And he's kept alive. They give him, they hypnotize him, they feed him, but in the meantime, they kill his entire family except for his daughter. And then one day, without explanation, he's released out into the world, and he has to try to reconnect with his daughter, but he's still under the control of the hypnotist. In the meantime, because he's been gone for 15 years, his family's dead, everyone assumes that he's the one who killed his family. And so he's trying to reunite with his daughter, figure out why he was kidnapped, and clear his name. And at the end, we find out that it was revenge. This all happened as revenge for something he did to a guy when they were in high school. Yeah, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. This is Old Boy. If one rainy night you find yourself leaving a phone booth and you meet a man with a lavender umbrella, resist your desire to follow him, to seek shelter for the night in his solace. Later, don't fall victim to the hypnotist's narcotic of clarity, which proves a curare for the heart. Her salve is merely a bandage under which memories pulse. Resist the taste for something still alive for your first meal. Resist the craving for a touch of a hand from your past. We live some memories, and some memories are planted. There's only so much space for the truth and the fabrications to spread out in one's mind. When there's no more space, we grow desperate. You'll ask if practicing love for years in your mind prepares you for the moment. if practicing to defend one's life is the same as living. You'll hold up captive in a hotel room for 15 years and learn to find a man within you, which will prove a painful introduction to the trance into which you were born. Better to stay under the spell of your guilt than to forget. You've already released your pain into the world. Don't believe there's some joy in forgetting. There's no joy in the struggle to forget. And what appears as an endless verdant field only spreads across a building's rooftop. Your peaceful sleep could be a fetal position which secures you in a suitcase in this field. A bell rings and you fall out of this luggage like clothes you no longer fit. Now what to do? You remember when you were the man who fit those clothes, but you've forgotten this world. Even forgotten scenes from your life leave shadows of the memory, haunting your spirit, until within a moment's glance, strangers passing you on the street observe history in your eyes. Experience lingers through acts of forgetting, small acts of love or trauma falling from the same place. Whether memory comes in the form of a stone or a grain of sand, they both sink in water. A tongue, even if it were, say, sworn to secrecy, or if it were cut from one's mouth, yes, even without a mouth to envelop its truth, the tongue continues to confess. So, I think I'll read one of these strange newer poems from this collection that's is using characters from The Tempest. Caliban is a stand-in for the young black men who've been killed at the hands of police. A character who doesn't appear in the play, but who is referenced a good deal in the play. Caliban's mother, Sycorax, is the mother of is a composite of those mothers for the young men who died. Often when those young men are when we first hear about these deaths, they're presented to us as these kind of monsters or demonized with their, whatever kind of record or background they may have had. But then you find out later, after the mothers come out and talk about their sons, more about who they really were. With Eric Gardner, we found out, he was, ran a community garden. He was just kind of this gentle giant in the community. And there are these little details that we just don't know about these men until the mothers come out and kind of tell their story. Much in the way that we don't know much of what's happening on the island other than what Prospero tells us to know. So this is a strange poem. It's one of these poems, I don't know, I never know how to read this. It's kind of shaped like a window. And there are 4 different sections, and what we're looking at is this is in the we're looking into Sycorax, the mother, and this is a window into Sycorax. It's in 4 different sections. What's known to others but not known to Sycorax. My Caliban, still in his onesie, posed a threat. Perhaps it was his hands, much too large for a newborn, which made him look like a grown man. His frontal lobe stuck out, heavy with thoughts, his eyes wide open. He looked around as if he could see auras of others who kept their thoughts to themselves. What's known to others and not known to Sycorax is that she will never be accepted among us. What's known to others and known to Sycorax, because I saw a crow in the sky, because the moon didn't show its face, all of time divides between my loves and my regrets. That's why I know. That's why you're just guessing. How far did the thread unspool as it led me down the path back home? Yes, a thread unraveled my coat all the way here. It was cold when I started. It was temperate once I stopped. How many hills have I worn down on my journey? I remember a future as if I had been here before. My mother said I had been here before. Now, finally, I believe her as I look into the face of my son. Sometimes a spell is not a hex. What's not known to others and not known to Sycorax. How she drifts in dreams she has yet to discern. How the wind calls when she's in danger, trying to warn her of lies falling as blithely from miles as confetti from hotel windows. How a man will look over his shoulder to watch her walk past him on the street. She never looks back at him. She's not curious about a him. How she forgets the bewilderment of hope once experience consumes her. How she fuels every step with love, which keeps her on a path no one else can follow. And I'm going to close with a little longer poem. This is a poem about a shooting at a college campus in 1970. The Jackson State killings occurred on the campus of Jackson State College, which is now Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. On May 14th, 1970, a group of student protesters against the Vietnam War were confronted by city and state police. Shortly after midnight, the police opened fire, killing 2 students. I should say this is a historically black college, HBCU. Shortly after midnight, the police opened fire, killing 2 students and injuring 12. The event happened only 11 days after National Guardsmen killed 4 students in similar protests at Kent State University in Ohio, not far from where I grew up. The Kent State incident captured national attention. The Jackson State killings did not. The 2 young men who died were James Earl Green and Philip Lafayette Gibbs. This is aerial view, Jackson State College. I just want to say thanks again for a wonderful crowd and this wonderful space. And I just want to thank Sarah and One Pause again as well. Thank you so much. A bullet comes through the air. It's not fair simply to fear them as projectiles. Often they are warnings. That is to say, they sound out through time, running up ahead to let us know the terrain before us does not welcome our kind, almost singing a single note of advice: run. Above us, squinting through the scope, above us frowning, sharpening the focus, pain and quirk and need. What else does he call for? He who wields the secret to death. What else scares us? What else do we scare? What else rustles the leaves, nervous, trying to remain calm? Courage and warmth. What else ended today as the clouds opened, spreading the clarity of light? I remember how the sky winced, gray and opaque, and then wide-eyed. What else did the day do? Did dandelions lift from their stalks? What else got the hell out the way? What else got caught in the crossfire in the wake of the whistling? I can't see you for the fuselage of the city, littering the air, strewn across pavement. I still long for the mundane moment before the seed that does not grow, got planted in my chest. What else sowed but did not reap? Was I the harvest? Was I not meant to yield? Spring came, and the sun came, and both left a hole where warmth once fell like a salve for the chill and the sting of the chill. Nightfall. Now nothing behaves like spring. Earlier, clouds burned off the sky, but no one celebrates a clear day filled with violence. No platitudes get exchanged after a killing. Sometimes after a death, but never after a killing. Who cares about the weather? Who cares who won the game? I see my body, but I cannot feel as others touch my body. Did I ever feel my body respond to the response of another's? What's the point of asking this question? Under the night air, coolness prevails. A cool spring night, someone will say, walking their dog before going to bed. Will they know how violent the day was before dark? We think of violence happening at night. Once more, a day stretches possibility to the limit. Someone wakes to the possibility, asserting, as their feet touch the cold floor at the side of the bed, a new day. A future of which they cannot conceive, a death they won't believe unless it actually finds them. Some bodies had fallen out of fear, like animals freezing still when facing a predator. Some bodies got shot, but not shot dead. Their lives continue, but with wounds we'll never see. These wounds won't heal. Some flew like prey across the veldt of the campus quad, flew on their legs, flew with grace like prey will do, pissing and shitting themselves, surviving. Some have names we will forget, they won't mind. They took off running to be forgotten. Me? I was once promising. I stood there looking into the sun above me, the rooftops, the clock tower, the glint of the gun. Stand still and watch as people come back into the scene. That's what I'll do, I said. People still will not remember my name. Maybe they'll mention me tonight as they lie down in the dark after they turn off the news, but once the screen on the set powers off, I'll lie as dead. As the distance one crosses through the night, believing there will be a sunrise. Thank you very much.